YouTube. It's Mike here. Um, just kind of, I guess, a part two of this changing from the 7-horse Tecumseh to the 8-horse Tecumseh out of a snowblower to put in my Massey tractor here. So far, little things I've noted: the carburetor turns 90 degrees here. Exhaust is going to be shooting straight for the grill, although I think I could shield it away. We'll see how the air filter fits, because this is a snowblower engine. It did not have an air filter, it just had a big cover over it that didn't really block any dirt. So that was, we'll see how that works. I can always remount or come up with a different filter scheme. Here, my block width here looks like it may be a little bit larger on this motor. I'm not ready to call that an issue yet. It was just something I was noticing when I had them up here side by side, that this casing actually is a little deeper. Now, whether that's going to make a difference depending on how things are offset in the bottom and whatnot. A lot of the block bolt holes here are the same on these, and in here, and I'm going to take you into the shop and show you I've got things apart, but there's no charging system. Most of these will at least have a little lighter coil to run a light, and so this one didn't have it, so I'm going to see if I can swap it out. The flywheels here are pretty well identical. This one just has the 2 magnets to run the coil for the spark. This one's got coils all the way around the inside, and we'll go look at the other bits. But otherwise, these look like I can swap them out, and all the bolts match here. So there. All right, so this is the piece I pulled out of the snowblower. The coils here themselves tend to they just clip on, so I have actually taken, this is the one that was on the 7-horse. It's been taped up. It's got the old school end on it there, and the other thing, it had some wire stuff done. Now, the guys that worked on this motor last, I don't think they were really electrical types. There's a bit of tape on here. I haven't taken this apart to see what's underneath, because in some ways I really don't even care. But this is kind of telling me a little bit more about the 7-horse. It's been such a disappointment. Here we have the this is the flywheel from the 7-horse, and I brought it in, and then this is the set that came out of the 7-horse. We've got our points here, coil here. You can see I changed it out for a new wire with no nicks or cracks in it. Kill wire seems to be all right. It's got 5 coils in it, and it took me a bit to kind of figure out what they were doing here. It just seems like a funny number, and I couldn't. I was testing. I tested across the prongs for continuity, didn't get a reading. Tested to ground across the prongs, couldn't get a reading. And I noticed there had been a little bit of fixing up on the wires here, and I got looking, and sure enough, if this will focus on that, there is one break that I found that was kind of disguised by about 4 pieces of very strategically placed tape. So these guys were good with tape, not so much with making sure wires are connected, because then I got down in here, and there's a thin spot, but then here we are back into the wire again, and now this was disguised by this old coating partially, and a few pieces of tape, which looked like in the beginning they were just there to work as like a secondary protection. So right now I'm battling with myself. We do have a connection. These don't go to ground. They are an in and out. to the 2 black wires here. White one's the kill wire. Somewhere I've got to find a good spot, I think, to make a splice, because the way I see things, until this is replaced and soldered together, and the same with this one, I'm not going to be happy, because once this all gets stuck on the motor and it's all in here, and this is all jammed through here, I don't know how they got it so monkeyed around, and just, I mean, it's not hard to do it right, and it doesn't take that much extra time just to make sure your wires are tucked away or whatever. The good news is the coils themselves here, they seem all right. I think my points are going to line up pretty close. Looking at the keyway made me a bit nervous. Looking at the keyway and the lobe for the points. I think it's going to work out. I do have a fair amount of adjustment on here. But if we set these up, where are we here? Turn this around. You can see that there is a slight difference, and hopefully that's not a big deal. If we look down there, maybe you can see this 2 sets of for where the points contact. Anyway, I think I can adjust for that, especially being as we have magnets all the way around here, so it's just a matter of getting the points timed up. I'll have the power at the coil. The biggest thing is in the winter time, I blow snow with the machine. I know the last winter here I didn't have a charging system, which was a real pain because a low battery freezes and cracks. I managed to stay on top of it enough. I'll have to do a video sometime showing my snowblower setup, but I actually have it's a wiper motor, or not a wiper motor, a window motor off of something I got cheap at Princess Auto Store, and I have it set up on the hood to turn which way the snow goes, and it actually gives me 360 degrees, or I can go back and forth left and right a little bit, but it's electric. Electric start and lights and stuff, and I actually, because of the road I live on, which it's real busy, and there's a hill there, so people don't always notice stuff, I wanted to put some flashy lights of some sort this year, because they've actually bumped the speed limit on me, and nobody's been hurt yet, but that's not saying a whole lot. In fact, we've pretty well petitioned, and I think they are talking about putting it back to what it originally was. So I guess the next thing I got to figure out on this Massey, and I'm trying to decide how far to go or how to step this out, but I want to double check, because I wonder now if my regulator's any good, or what the chances anything in there is going to be shot. And I'm actually even thinking it's a bit of a job to get it out, and it's almost too bad, because I would love to show people how that works. I've had a lot of questions about the Massey charging system for a long time, and I've never been able to find any information on it, and so now I'm actually able to get into it, and through kind of a knowledge of how things work and, you know, process of elimination, I know that these coils weren't working. Now I got to double check my other engine, because I want to say it wasn't charging on that other original 7 horse, so that could be a regulator issue. And I do have at least 1 more, maybe 2 more regulators, so I would need to go through and figure out how to test them. But I also have modern versions of the same thing that you could almost put in line, so I'm considering that as well. So this one's getting a bit long, but I'm hoping to try to give an understanding, and I'm going to try to title this and tag it to make it a little bit easier to find, because I've looked all over the place on the internet, and like I say, these 7-horse Tecumsehs, I think, especially because back when they were plentiful, they were kind of a throwaway engine. Everybody that worked on them probably understood how they worked and how the charging systems and everything operated. But as time's gone on, I think it must have become like a lost art type of thing, where people got frustrated and swapped motors out and whatever. And so this is like, I would say like a recent history. You're talking late 60s-ish, I think, for these motors. If I remember correctly, early 70s, late 60s. And so this is almost like history documentation in some ways, because I would like to do one or two of these up back to original one day, paint them up, get the motors all perfect and back stock original, more or less just to say, hey, this was something that people had, that they used, and this is how it worked. And you know, like right now, I think my dad has a 27-horse John Deere riding lawn tractor, and I don't know how much more work he can do with it, really, when you compare it to the 7-horse. And it's just a different way of looking at things, I think. I mean, these weren't terribly efficient, but they weren't. They were made to work, and it wasn't about bragging about horsepower, and they had lots of torque. Who knows? Maybe the 7-horse and the new 20-something horse motors, maybe they're the same torque range, just rated more horsepower. I'm never really sure what the differences are, but I know that I've had tractors and snow blowers and all sorts of different things with different engines, and they are never made equally. So whatever they're doing with these old Bettys, or whatever they did do, it's kind of interesting to try to document and figure out what the differences were, and also how, if you were going to work on one, what you might look for. And I was pretty disappointed that my snowblower engine didn't at least have that exciter wire for the light. A lot of the snowblowers in Ontario here have pre-wire that works straight off the RPM, no battery, but you could put a diode in, and you could charge your battery with it then. Diode, yeah. Nope, yeah, a diode. Wow, come on, brain. Anyway, so yeah, I'll let you back in on things here when I figure out where to go from here, and hopefully this works out well. And if you have any ideas on this, or if you know where to find information on, say, the wiring of these old things, or any of the details, I mean, I can find part schematics and trace through that way, but it ends up being a bit of a backwards way. And if I was Joe Blow guy who didn't really know enough about it, I don't think even looking at the schematics and stuff would do me any good. Luckily, I have a good understanding of how most small engine pieces were done. And when it comes to antique stuff, I've worked on cars and tractors and lawn tractors and stuff from the 50s, and you know, even the walk behind units from, what was it, the 30s. I've worked on all of it, so it gives me a good head start on things before I start looking into something that I can't find information for. So with that, I'll talk to you. All right.